Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Helma Novira as first speaker from the material teacher strategies of speaking teaching for students, and Meilani Luthfiyyah as second speaker, Kharisma Santika as third speaker, Meisya as fourth speaker, and Khoirunnisa as the last speaker. And we are from group 4. Teaching speaking has high attention in many language programs, and teaching strategies are undeniable as factors influencing teaching outcomes. The strategies used to achieve writing and speaking skill will be different because the purpose of each skill is not the same. The first is concerned with the ability to produce written language, while the latter mainly focus on production spoken language. In addition, strategies to teach English skill should be made appropriate for each skill to achieve the expected result. About strategies for teaching speaking, ironically, most high school students cannot speak English because it is not their mother tongue, so they have difficulty. Okay, the first is role play, presentation, and discussion. Challenge in relation to time. First is role play. Role play is a role that is played by some people using manuscript of a story. Nuna stated that role play allows students to practice speaking target language before they do it in a real environment. Role play is approved to be communicative language learning because students are actively got involved in the conversation. It means that students are not only as passive learners but also active learners because they practice speaking through conversation. Role play is a good strategy to stimulate students to speak foreign language. Students are urged to make improvisation in the conversation. In this context, students are provided an opportunity to be more creative in using language. Hammer mentioned that students can take the role of completely different characters. For instance, one student play a role as a tourist and the other student play a role as a tour guide. The procedures of role play are as follows. First, teacher divides students into some groups. Second, teachers give script for every group with different themes. Third, the teachers and the student practice dialogue together. Lastly, students practice the role in front of the class. Okay, the second is discussion. Discussion is a strategy that involves a topic or issue to be discussed together in a group. The strategy aims to make a conclusion, share ideas about a topic, or find solution in their group discussion. This can be done by dividing students into pairs or small groups, discussing a topic in the group for at least 10 minutes, and letting students explain the result in front of the class. It is in line with Hartfield 2000, who mentioned that in discussion, students can tell each other about their ideas, feelings, and experiences in greater depth and detail. The third is presentation. Oral presentation is a technical way to solve student problem in speaking. Nadia stated that presentation is an activity which uses oral expression course to develop student speaking skill. Nadia also explained the implementation of presentation. The first is that the topic of the presentation can either be given by the teachers or it is freely chosen by students themselves. The student find the information about this topic and the student give the information to the audience afterward.
The definition of conducive to learning is in carrying out learning activities orderly in carrying out various tasks and supporting all activities included in the learning process. A conducive learning environment is a learning environment in a school where atmosphere, teaching, and learning process takes place. This conducive learning environment needs to be increased and maintained so that the growth and development of students are effective and efficient so that goals can be achieved optimally. Especially in speaking skill learning activities that require a lot of concentration in terms of pronunciation and vocabulary. Because there are still many things that cause a learning environment to be not conducive and disrupt the learning process of students, such as reduced student interest in the process of learning to speak English, seeing that there are still factors that interfere with the learning environment to be not conducive and make students unable to practice fluency in speaking skills. Here are some strategies that can be done by teacher and teaching staff in improving the student learning environment that is more conducive to the ability to hone English speaking at school students. Is creating a comfortable learning and teaching atmosphere. Creating a pleasant learning and teaching atmosphere is very important. Several factors support more pleasant learning and teaching atmosphere, starting from the way the teacher teaches, the mood of the student, the environment in the classroom, and other. Even so, the teacher plays an important role in creating an exciting atmosphere and spurring students to be enthusiastic about learning. Sympathetic and democratic teachers allow a conducive learning atmosphere to be created, where student learning outcomes are valued, so students are not afraid to feel wrong when answering questions or asking the teacher. A pleasant learning and teaching atmosphere makes students enthusiastic about learning, and the learning will be more meaningful. This learning is not always judged by the question of high score. The second is improved communication and social relations. Teaching and learning activities carried out in the classroom are internal, where the teacher has full authority to carry out the ongoing learning process. This will not work well without being based on communication and harmonious social relation between student and teacher. Effective communication during the learning process will reduce the occurrence of deviant behavior by students during learning. In addition, good communication makes study time enjoyable. The third is conduct discussion activities. With the discussion, there will be an exchange of knowledge, but from among students and from teachers. Students will get new views of a problem, therefore insight will increase because of the exchange of information carried out during the discussion. In the discussion, everyone is free to express their arguments. Arguments can be present in the form of disagreement with the things that have been conveyed in English. This activity will also train students to speak English will be better. Using the drilling method. Through training in drilling technique in English pronunciation lesson, it is hoped that they will be able to assist teacher in applying drilling technique in teaching English, especially in pronunciation. The basic technique used to make learning English more interesting. English training using teaching technique can improve English language skill, especially in terms of pronunciation. Pronunciation in English is a technical science to learn how to pronounce vocabulary in English. English is not the main language for Indonesian, aka mother tongue, so that do not be surprised if Indonesian people often find difficulties in pronouncing sentence or English vocabulary properly and correctly. English pronunciation, and better known as pronunciation, is how we pronounce a word in English that is good, not good, and correct. The difference between our tongue habits and the tongue of a native speaker, people who use English as their mother tongue, is the cause of frequent errors in English pronunciation. Therefore, in this case, it is necessary to do exercise or repetition. And the last is doing the game method. Games or educational games can be very effective in helping to convey material and increase student motivation to be more active in learning and to speak English. This happens because students will feel interest and challenged to answer or complete a game that will be very effective in honing their abilities. Some examples of games that can hone language skill or speak English including Scrabble. This game is quite interesting, but you have to prepare a board and a set of Scrabble letters. Scrabble itself can be played by 2 or 4 people. To play these games, you must understand the official guidelines that already exist in ancient students URX, so you string words from the exercising letters. Each letter has a different value. The next is Simon Says. Simon Says is the game, one of the popular games that are used by many teachers around the world and are also useful for sharpening students' speaking skill. The Simon games is the application technique of the TPR method to total physical response. This game is very easy, and the rule is you say some common words and student hear and then do it. The sentence begin with the phrase Simon says. If not, students may not do it. Maybe some strategies to improve a conducive learning environment and help students' speaking skill can be useful and carried out by our teacher or lecturers in helping develop student abilities.
One of the problems that the students felt shy about was talking in front of other students. They suffered from fear of making mistakes. Speaking in front of other people needs courage, motivation from inside and outside, such as a joyful atmosphere in the conversation and interesting topics. Another cause is that there were students who were dominant and almost intimidating others with their better ability. The students were afraid and anxious about saying something wrong or incomprehensible, especially when some students were not familiar with the topic. The students often have no ideas about what to say, so they tend to keep silent. They are also shy and uncomfortable, such as well as not confident if they make mistakes. The next challenge in speaking is low or uneven participation. They are always students who are dominant in English class, which previously made them confused. Now, they are calmer because they feel backed up. Some students express themselves freely, but the quiet students seek the teacher's attention and sit at the back and watch the lesson progress instead of participating. It turns out that there are still many things that cause the learning environment in the speaking class that is not conducive as a result of the challenges that have been presented. This is still a factor that interferes with the students' learning environment in the speaking class, which makes students unable to practice their English speaking skills and fluency in speaking in the speaking course. The following are some strategies that can be done by teachers and other teaching staff in improving the student learning environment that is more conducive and able to hone students' ability to speak English in speaking class. The first teaching strategy is to use drilling. Drilling is an activity of imitating and repeating words, phrases, and word utterances. Drilling means listening to a model provided by the teacher or a tape or another student and repeating what is heard. This is a repetition drill, a technique that is still used by many teachers when introducing new language items to their students. Students are asking to repeat what the teacher said accurately and quickly. Therefore, applying this strategy in a foreign English class can make students can pronounce words correctly. The students will automatically memorize the words or sentence. In addition, drilling can increase students' speaking skills. The afterward teaching strategy is role play. Role play is very important in teaching speaking because it gives students an opportunity to practice communicating speaking in different social contexts and in different social roles. In addition, it also allows students to be creative and to put themselves in another person's place for a while. Role play is a role played by several people using a script of a story. The students are not only passive learners but also active learners because they practice speaking through conversation. Role play is a great strategy to stimulate students to speak a foreign language. Students are encouraged to improve in conversation. In this context, students are allowed to be more creative in using the English language, so they can practice their English speaking skills. And the last important strategy is discussion and presentation. Discussion is a strategy that involves a topic or problem to be solved together in a group. Small group discussion could effectively improve students' speaking skills. Engage them in the group work discussion actively. Encourage them to be independent learners who can expose themselves in learning activities. Make them feel more relaxed at learning. Give them more space to explore their speaking abilities. The students can tell each other about their ideas, feelings, and experiences in greater depth and detail. And presentation is a technical way to solve students' speaking problems. It can help improve your speaking skills and build confidence. The essential factor to the success of learning speaking is the students themselves. They should be creative to find ways to develop their speaking ability. The students should use every opportunity to practice English in and out of class. They may make commitments with classmates to use English as much as possible in their daily communications.
The next material is drilling and presentation, challenge due to students' ability. First is drilling. One of the techniques that can be used to improve pronunciation is drilling. Drilling is an activity of imitating and repeating words, phrases, or whole utterance. There are steps in drilling activity. Students are asked to repeat what the teacher says accurately and quickly. In this strategy, students are emphasized to do more practice. Drilling is useful in teaching pronunciation since it can create correct and accurate pronunciation. Therefore, applying this strategy in English foreign class can make students able to pronounce words accurately. By repeating words or sentences, students automatically memorize the words of the sentence. Therefore, drilling can improve students' speaking skills. The second is presentation. Oral presentation is a technical way to solve student problem in speaking. Presentation is an activity which uses oral expression to develop students' speaking skill. The first is that the topic of the presentation can either be given by the teacher or it is freely chosen by students themselves. The students find the information about this topic and the student gives the information to the audience afterward. In teaching speaking, the teacher also faces difficulty in applying this strategy. The factor of the difficulty is appearing from their student. Some teachers also reveal that most of the students could not speak English. On the other side, the teacher is also having difficulty making the student active in the presentation. The other factor is also about shyness, which is a factor that prevents students from actively participating in presentation. In this case, the teacher also acts as a driving factor for student ability to be able to master speaking in a way that is easier to understand and practice because student ability must be different. So, students who are less responsive can understand better. There are several factors that are considered barriers for students to learn speaking, including: first, this challenge was faced by the participating because of the student poor pronunciation. Second, the mixed language used by students or still comfortable using their mother tongue. The third, student shyness when they spoke, especially in front of many people in a foreign language. Based on the previous discussion about drilling and presentation as a technique or strategy to face challenge regarding students' speaking skills, here I will explain a little about how these techniques work. The first, there is drilling. The process of drilling was as follows. The teacher gave the teaching material to students. The student listened to the teacher pronunciation. The students repeated the teacher pronunciation, and the student practiced the pronunciation over and over until the correct pronunciation is attained. In the process of drilling, generally they have the same way in implementing this strategy, but the difference was in the material given. And the second is presentation. In this strategy, the teacher used presentation in teaching speaking skill. Every teacher has his or her own way to implement this strategy, divided them into groups and gave them the topic. The student look for references in books or the internet and then do presentation. Presentation belongs to teaching a speaking strategy that was applied in teaching practice. Through presentation, students could improve their pronunciation. It was shown through the activity in presentation done by the participant. The process was the participant give the material to the student and the student present the result in front of the class. So, for the strategy in the face of the challenge regarding the student ability, the teacher do a simple and easy method to be followed or understood by all students, such as playing with vocabulary, learning to say the words and also as a teacher must be patient and painstaking to take care of his student whose attitudes or properties are different from everyone. Teachers are also required to teach students to be more active, to practice continuously so that they can speak English gradually until finally fluent.
So, I will start by quoting expert statements. According to Yusuf and Zuraini 2016, some teachers cite that their challenge when teaching EFL students in English speaking was that they lacked the vocabulary to say something in English, so that they used their mother tongue. Vocabulary refers to the words the students must understand to communicate effectively. But some EFL students have a poor vocabulary. EFL students make some mistakes in choosing words, and the students didn't have any idea when mentioning the vocabulary. Quoting Amir et al. 2016 explained that the first difficulty in vocabulary is defining word knowledge. Due to this, EFL students make some mistakes in choosing words. The words that the EFL students choose should be appropriate and have suitable meanings. As stated by Munirah and Hardian 2016, that the quality of language skills someone depends on the quality of the vocabulary they have. But most of the EFL students feel hesitant in choosing the words. This also makes EFL students always use a lot of repetition of words in speaking because they don't have enough vocabulary. They usually rarely read or hear in English because English is not their first language. If you master a lot of vocabulary, your speaking will also get better. In addition, another challenge is they also experience pronunciation problems. This is common because English and Bahasa Indonesia have different sound systems. Mispronunciation commonly occurs in the non-native context. In the EFL context, mispronunciations are generally caused by several reasons. First, the students follow or apply the pronunciation of basic words. Secondly, students tend to use their native phonetic rule. Thirdly, mispronounced words are rarely used by the students. And lastly, they imitate the wrong pronunciation of their teacher. Relating to the production of the stress, the students tend to put the stress in the syllables that are spelled similarly with the basic words. Students' lack of understanding about suprasegmental features is the reason for stress mispronunciation. So, the strategy is to use communication games to practice their vocabulary and pronunciation. The teaching and learning process can be more interesting by using games because games are very helpful to energize the students and recharge their spirit in studying. Games allow students to have a fun way to learn new vocabulary and learn pronunciation. It was supported by Amrullah 2015, who asserted that using games in the class is to help students learn and have fun. The teacher can use games in warming up activities such as mentioning some vocabularies that are related to an interesting topic. One of the examples of games is the guessing game. In the activity of the guessing game, the students are divided into groups. Every representative of the group chooses the picture that is given by the teacher and make the simple sentence as a clue. For example, if one group chooses the picture apple, so the other group must guess the picture by asking many questions like, is it a fruit or is it small? Then the group that has the picture can only answer yes or no. Or it could be with other games like the students from one the corner to another corner was asked to mention vocabulary based on the last letter of the previous vocabulary. If the last letter of vocabulary is A, then the next students need to mention another word initiated with a letter A. For example, the first student mentioned tree. Then the next student must look for vocabulary that ends in E, which is energy. Or, other than those two games, you can also use the letter dice game. For example, if what comes out is the letter B, then students must find a word that starts with B, such as bag. So the conclusion is, from these results, we found that the teacher's challenge in teaching speaking in English were related to time, keeping conducive learning, encouraging students' participation, students' ability, and lack of vocabulary and pronunciation that must be mastered by students when learning to speak in a foreign language, such as grammar, vocabulary, fluency, and pronunciation. We emphasize that the way to solve this problem is to apply the various techniques and methods that we have mentioned earlier. So, that's all from me and my friends. Thank you for watching our video. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.